Hey, everybody, I'm Scott Wikle. You're listening to My Kind of Country. Thanks for joining me on a Monday night. It's a distinct pleasure to have this gentleman return to the show. Not only is he a fabulous singer and songwriter, but you also heard him regularly back when we had MKOC Radio with the Neon Music Country Legacy Show. And I'm just thrilled to talk to him today. He's got a brand new album, and we're going to play the entire album for you tonight. There's 10 songs on here that he has written or co-written, and I think it just really needs to be heard by everybody. And it's a great musical journey, and we're going to talk to him about every track and play them for you. It's a pleasure to welcome Randy C. Moore to My Kind of Country. Randy, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Scott. Hey, everybody. I'm glad to be with you tonight, and looking forward to us spinning these songs off my new album called Lufkin is the title of the album. So it's great to be here, bud.
Well, I was going to start out by asking you what you've been doing during all this quarantine stuff, but obviously you've been writing music.
Yeah, I've taken advantage of it. I think a lot of artists actually have, but for me, I was working a lot the last 4 or 5 years, playing a lot of live dates, and this kind of forced me back into the studio, which I was happy to do because I never really had the time to craft things and spend the time on songs and just basically kind of nurture them the way that I really like to. I'm afraid I'm not very good at quickly writing great songs or even good songs, and that makes me a risk for any sort of a major publisher. But I don't care. I mean, I like to see the end result, no matter how long it takes. So yeah, this whole quarantine shutdown thing actually played to my advantage. I moved from Nashville to Lufkin, Texas. It was very seamless. There's been a lot of folks I've met down here. It's kind of good if you can start out. I feel like I'm starting over again in a lot of ways, and it's kind of good if things are kind of slow. That way, you're not kind of jumping into the fast lane when you're starting over. Everybody is kind of going your speed. So it's been good for me as far as like just the pace of things and how things are working for me here with live music and obviously with making this record. So yeah, I've been I've been messing with the faders, as they
say. Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, the album title obviously is Great Meaning, so that's where you're living now. But I wanted to ask you, the cover of it looks like an old drive-in movie theater. Is that down in that area?
Yeah, it's north of Lufkin. It's an old theater called the Redland, which is in a little spot called Redland, Texas. And it's funny when people see that photo. People who are from around here who went to college, they go, well, I actually used to go there when it was open. It's been long not open now. It's rusty and kind of funky looking, but I think they're going to turn it into a flea market spot. So they're not going to tear that part down that you're seeing in the photo, which it'll be nice because you drive right by it when you're on the highway. You can't miss it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's Americana at its best. That was a time. I remember going to. We had a couple here when I was a kid. And I remember going to drive-ins. In fact, we still have one drive-in that still functions here, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, drive-ins are the best. What's really cool is if you get to see a movie in a drive-in that's kind of meant to be seen at a drive-in. I saw American Graffiti when it came out. I was at the drive-in. I have never seen that movie in any other situation that wasn't more perfect than watching it at a drive-in, because you felt like you were in the late 1950s. It's pretty cool. So.
I love it. Well, that's one of the things I like about your music. There's a lot of nostalgia there, but it kind of ties in with modern times and what's going on, and there's a lot of reflecting. And as I had said before, the thing I love about your songwriting is that I can kind of close my eyes and visualize it. And to me, that's the measure of a great songwriter, is when a person can hear that song and see it at the same time.
Well, thanks. I started out not wanting to be a musician. I was a painter, and I painted pictures, and I had all these plans to go to commercial art school and everything, and music kind of jumped in there. So I guess I switched my painting over into painting on a little 3.5-minute musical things for folks. I suppose if that's the way it sounds to you, then I know it makes me happy because I know it sounds that way to a lot of people. So that's good. I like that. Thank you for that.
Well, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the new single, and we'll play that one first. And it's called "Big in Texas." Tell me the story behind that one.
Well, this song started out being another song back about 20 years ago. I was writing at a publishing company in Nashville, and I met this guy that they had just signed. His name was David Lee. David Lee has since kind of gone on to write some really great songs for people like George Strait and different artists. He's had a lot of really big success, but this song didn't even have that particular title in it. The title was something that was very forgettable, but the story was so good that we had written that I could never, it always was like hanging around my consciousness, which, sometimes these songs that I write that I don't do anything with, they have a habit of just kind of hanging around and waiting for, I guess, the light to go on over my head. So I'm driving down through Texas, coming to Houston about a year ago, and pulled into this gas station. And they have these gas stations down here, and it's got a picture. The logo has a picture of the state of Texas, and then the name of the station is called Biggs. And I looked at that, and I thought, yeah, people always say things are bigger in Texas. And then it hit me, oh, wait a minute. Now I know how I need to convey the message of that song. So it just came, bam, just like that. And I sent it to David. He lives in the Hill Country. I sent it to David, and he said, wow, that's really great, man. He said, keep moving forward on that. So he and I sort of collaborated, after the fact as well. But the song was really done, except just for that main chorus idea that gets people interested, that brings them in and keeps them there, because they want to see, if they're listening to a song and they're interested long enough, they want to see how far that idea is going to take them. And that's important when you're writing a song. If you can open up with something that sort of intrigues them or kind of pulls them in, and then if you can hit them right there in the middle where the title of the song is, where they go, okay, I'm getting this. If the title says a little bit or says enough to them, and they'll stick with you. And that's really always my goal with these things, is to make sure people stick with me. So Big in Texas took 25 years to write.
There you go.
How about that?
There you go. Perfect. Well, we're going to stop and play that for our listeners right away. Folks, the album is called Lufkin, and it's available at randycmoore.com. We will have all that information on our My Kind of Country Facebook page, and we're going to play this song for you and come back to talk to Randy some more about these great songs. Stay with us as My Kind of Country continues.
Mama called last Monday, so I packed my Sunday best. Drove back to my hometown to lay some things to rest. As I pulled into the gravel drive, 1,000 memories came alive. But somehow our old house had changed, like the oak tree in our front yard where Daddy used to work on cars, and the front porch where Mama liked to swing. Things ain't as big in Texas as they used to be when I left them. Looking back, I can see they were larger than life now to me. The shadows they cast were so tall, Daddy was a working man, and work was all that he believed. So we didn't see eye to eye when I left home to chase my dreams. We built a wall of foolish pride to prove who had the righter side. Some years we never even spoke, but today the wall came tumbling down as we laid Daddy in the ground. It's taken time and tears for me to know things ain't as big in Texas as they used to be when I left them. Looking back, I can see they were larger than life now to me. The shadows they cast were so tall, I thought they'd never, ever fall. Now I've come back to see that things ain't as big in Texas as they used to be. Things ain't as big in Texas as they used to be.
All right, that's brand new music from Randy C. Moore from the Lufkin CD. It's available at randycmoore.com, and we will have that information on our Facebook page, Big in Texas. And Randy, a lot of people have gone to Nashville with these great big dreams, and maybe sometimes they work, maybe sometimes they don't. But the whole scene down there is it's kind of its own entity. It always has been, and you've captured that very well with a song called "Stars in Their Eyes."
Well, this song was also another song when it first started out, because I was playing downtown in Nashville quite a bit, and I got to really see the whole schmear, as they say. It's fun for folks to go to Broadway and visit and everything, but it is definitely almost a grind in a way, and I was in the middle of all that. So this song really kind of takes into account that when I showed up in Nashville years ago, I was 16 years old. I was making records, and I was having some marginal success here in Texas with them, and then I moved to Nashville, and there's a lot on my resume, or a lot on my history that I was able to do while I was in Nashville. But mostly it's talking about people who have showed up there recently, or maybe have been there a little while, but not too long, and they're kind of like me. They kind of, everything's kind of exciting, and there's a lot of, oh, hey, well, I'm going to get to play this for somebody, or a lot of that goes on in the entertainment business, and it's good to stay excited, and it's almost good to stay naive and have a sense of wonder about it, because if you're just going to play music and be in the music business for money, then you just need to go get a law degree, and that's the way you can make money off of being in the music business. But if you're going to be a musician, you need to keep those stars in your eyes. You need to keep dreaming and hoping, and heck, if it doesn't happen, something that you're doing that is good will go somewhere. And as a friend of mine always says, listen, if you keep doing it and it's working, they'll come to you. And a lot of times that's true. So Nashville was a great experience for me, and I would not trade what I have learned and what I was able to do there. I appeared on the Grand Ole Opry a few times. I learned how to make records. I learned how to write songs. I learned how to do a lot of things in front of a television camera. There's so much that was there that when I moved there, that really wasn't on my mind. I was like everybody else. Hey, I'm a singer. I got some good-looking clothes. I want to make records, and I want to go out and tour, and I want to be the next Conway Twitty or something like that. That's usually, you know, today when they move there. That's a lot of the same kind of thing. You know, I've got the hip threads. I'm a singer. I play this guitar. Everybody in my town loves me. They say I sound like Luke Combs or so whoever. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all about the dream, and if you just don't let people take your joy and your dreams away, it doesn't matter what happens to you as long as you're excited about stuff. You know, I'm going to just say this real quick. They played my record big in Texas here on a Fort Worth radio station. It was like a contest, and I heard that, and Scott, I got so excited listening to that thing. I could not believe it, and I felt like this. It was the same feeling I had as when I was 16 years old, and I first heard one of my records played down in the Houston area. It was the same feeling. And so that never goes away. So this song is really just saying, look, I want you to do well, but I want you to keep those stars in your eyes. I'd love for you to be just bright. And it's also saying, I don't even know who you are. I just know how it feels. So that's what Stars in Their Eyes does. It's sort of a reflection, but it's almost like it's like when the chorus starts out. I wish you well. I wish you happiness. I wish you all the success you told all your friends you would find. That's exactly the way it is when you do this and you approach it not just for a living but for your life. You know. Absolutely. So there you go. And it's still going on.
Yeah.
Nobody knows me, I'm nothing special at all. With my back facing Broadway, I've seen more than I can recall. Of cowboys all cut from paper mache, the songs they are singing all sound the same. Just like me, they come to Nashville to be a big name. And I wish them well, I wish them happiness, I wish them all the success they told all their friends they would find. May all of their dreams come true in time, and they will shine brighter than all of the stars in their eyes. Meanwhile on Broadway I fill up my bucket with cash, hoping I don't blow the rent, getting drunk off my ass. They say that the winners were all born to lose. If there's any truth to it, I'm way overdue. I wonder if anyone said this when I came here too. I wish him well, I wish him happiness, I wish him all the success he told all his friends he would find. May all of his dreams come true in time, and he will shine brighter than all of the stars in his eyes. Though time has been kind to me here, it's my time to go. This silent farewell is for all of the dreamers, believing in nothing at all. I wish them well, I wish them happiness, I wish them all the success they told all their friends they would find. May all of their dreams come true in time, and they will shine brighter than all of the stars in their eyes. May all of their dreams come true in time, and they will shine brighter than all of the stars in their eyes.
There's a great song on here that I think any kid who ever grew up in the country, certainly at one time or another, they went fishing with their dad, or something like that. You know, my dad and I used to fish together, but we also like to go bowling together. And the song "Daddy, I Want to Go Fishing" kind of brings me back to that time. And I'm sure that was probably your goal here, but I'm guessing that you probably had some of those times yourself.
Well, I had a lot of those times. This song, I was fortunate enough to have written this song while my dad was still alive, and this was his favorite song that I ever wrote. So for that, I'd say I've already been successful with this song personally. And yeah, it's I learned a lot just from going fishing with my dad and him not saying a thing. There are things that happen when you're out there with your buddy or with your dad or whoever it is that is your wingman or you're their wingman when you're doing stuff, going fishing, going on a duck hunt or whatever. There's a certain type of energy and a certain type of feeling and a certain type of wisdom that you get, and it never goes away. So I tried to kind of capture all that in this song, the feeling of what it is. And of course, I had to put it in there and say, listen, after I'm gone, this is the first thing I want to do is I want to see my dad. I want to go fishing. So there you go. Daddy, I want to go fishing.
A million stars were in the sky, 4 a.m. on the 5th of July. We headed out to Toledo Bend, me and Daddy going fishing again. He said we'll be there in an hour or so. Charlie Rich was on the radio. I said, I hope that we get lucky today. He nodded his head and I heard him say, if the good Lord's willing and the mercury runs, we'll be on the water before the sun. With rods, reels, and spinner baits, we'll cast our troubles out into the lake. 'Cause life is a whole lot better when the fishing's fine, and there's a little bit of heaven at the end of that line. Now we pulled in to Choctaw Camp, eased that bass boat down the ramp. I held the rope while he parked the truck. I called myself waking up. He got us out to our honey hole. How he finds it, I never know. I said, all these trees look alike. He said, son, you can trust an old Indian guide. When the good Lord's willing and the mercury runs, we'll be on the water before the sun. With rods, reels, and spinner baits, we'll cast our troubles out into the lake. 'Cause life is a whole lot better when the fishing's fine, and there's a little bit of heaven at the end of that line. rods and reels, son, we're heading to the lake. 1,000,000 stars were in the sky, 4 a.m. on the 5th of July. We headed out to Toledo Bend, me and Daddy going fishing. Again. La 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 la. Come on, let's go fishing. La 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 la. Grab the rods and reels. How does it feel? Son, don't you wanna go fishing? Daddy, I wanna go fishing.
The next song I want to talk about it's got a very simple title, but as I thought about it and as I listened to the song, I thought, it's not a simple title. It's very complex. And just the statement of he's just a cowboy there's so much more to that. Anyone who is a cowboy, there is so much work involved in it. There's so much dedication, and there's a fair amount of integrity, and it's just much deeper than what the title says. So I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about this song.
Well, he's just a cowboy is a true story. I know this guy. He's a rancher from out in the high country of Nevada, up around Winnemucca. That's all he ever dreamed of his whole life was being a rancher, and he is that person that I described in the song. He has learned about his life by having the skin knocked off of his nose, and the stories that this guy has are incredible. So I tried to capture who he is in this song, because I tell people all the time, if you get to meet this guy, just know that you're stepping back into a time when America was still being formed and still being pioneered. This is a guy who, when he got married, he moved his family from Seattle, where he was a policeman, and he didn't really like being a policeman, but he thought it'd be a good thing to do to raise his family. But he moved them from there to Montana, and they lived in a tent while he built a log cabin on this big ranch out there. That's the kind of stuff.
Wow.
They would ride their horses to work, and to school. His kids would ride the horses to school. They had this is in the 1970s. They had kerosene lamps. They cooked, with a wood burning stove. It's just he's that guy. He's that Renaissance, true to life American cowboy, and that's basically what the song is. It's just about him.
Wow, that's hardcore. I love it.
Well, let me put it to you this way: he still has a ranch. He still has about a little over 1,000 head of cattle, and every spring, he brings the cattle up to the high country, higher up than where he's at, because that's where the snow is melting, and it's got all the water up there. And then in the fall, he brings them back down again to his ranch in the valley, which is lower, and it's not as cold. So he moves the cows twice a year. They go on a 4-day trail ride up through really rugged territory. I mean, it looks like what most Western movies would like to look like. It's rugged, So, but that's who he is.
Oh, that's great. Folks, we're talking to Randy C. Moore. This is his new album, Lufkin, and you can get it at randycmoore.com. We will have that information on our Facebook page for My Kind of Country. And from the album, here's the song, He's Just a Cowboy, as we continue.
Oh, the high desert snow came in early October. The icy winds cut through his coat. Cows on the prairie needed 3 days of feed. God willing, the devil would not succeed today. As the day came to closing, he knelt by the fire, felt his bones starting to thaw. The stars in the sky looked down for a spell, knowing he'd beaten another cold day to hell. He's his own boss, don't boss him around. He can bulldog the devil down to the ground. A Renaissance man, 2 steps out of time, but he's just a cowboy, and a cowboy is one of a kind. Rises each morning while the sun is still sleeping. The coffee in his cup is so black night can't see. He saddles his dam and he rides out again, holding on tightly to life by the old leather reins. He's tough in ways that nobody knows. He learned life from knocking the skin off his nose. Don't ask, he won't tell you how he got so wise. He's just a cowboy, and a cowboy is one of a kind. He never dreamed of castles or kingdoms, or heroes from comic book pages. All that he needs is a horse and a saddle and a few thousand wide open spaces. 'Cause he always believed a man should be free, 'cause a man don't belong to no one. No one, God save his soul. He was born to a mother like all human beings. He lives with his habits and his scars. When he's done with living, you won't know when he dies. He's just a cowboy, and a cowboy is one of a kind. Yes, a cowboy is one of a kind. He's just a cowboy. He's one of a kind.
That is brand new music from Randy C. Moore, and we've got him with us tonight. We're talking about his new album, Lufkin. And I do want to make mention, too, that Highway 59, which is just a stellar album, we've played all sorts of songs from that, is also available at your website. And I guess maybe this is kind of a another volume to that, is kind of the way it sets, right?
Yeah, it's sort of a continuation of those sorts of ideas and things. And when I did my Highway 59 album, I had so much good reaction from it. And a guy that I work with who I've learned a lot from, his name is Norbert Putnam. He's a fairly has a lot of notoriety as a record producer. He, I told him how people really loved this more than anything I'd ever really done. And I said, Norbert, I said, it's funny. I said, when I started making this Highway 59 album, first of all, I didn't know I was going to even make an album. I just started recording songs that were personal to me, and I wanted to be the one just happy with them. I wasn't concerned that I was going to, try to connect with people or come up with something that was going to be catchy. None of that really entered into my mind. He said, well, Randy, he said, when I produced Dan Fogelberg's records, he said Dan Fogelberg's most successful records were basically from personal things that happened to him. So he said, yes. He said, if you will stick with who you are personally, he said, those are the most honest things that you can do. He said, and people will get it. They'll understand that a lot more than craftiness and something of that nature. So I've kind of stuck with that idea of just keeping it personal. Whatever it is that I'm living, let's see if there's a song that comes out of that. So that's the basic idea. It was the basic idea for Highway 59 once I started shaping it, and it's the basic idea by this album that I have out now called Lufkin.
Well, definitely the mark of a true songwriter is something that is true to them, but it also touches other people. And there are different ways to interpret songs, and it's always amazing to me sometimes to hear a songwriter talk about one of their songs, and I heard it in a different way. But I think that's part of what makes music so great, and it certainly gives it longevity because there's a realness to it, and there's a connection there. No matter if it might not be the exact situation for you, there's still that connection, and it's what brings people in to listen very closely.
Well, that's absolutely right, Scott. The song that Anne Murray recorded called "You Needed Me," I know a lot of people played it for their weddings and things like that when the song came out. It's a brilliant song. I've heard that song played in church. I've heard people sing it in church because it has a very religious meaning to it. You needed me. They think of it as a song about Jesus. So there's there's a lot in a song, sometimes more than even a songwriter can even predict.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You try not to overthink it, so that's part of the reason. That's part of a lot of times a song won't get written because it got overthought.
True enough. Well, I guess what I would call the love song on this album is called "Woman, Woman," and it kind of strikes me as somebody who just ultimately wants the best for their other half, and kind of letting them know that. It's kind of the message there. So tell me a little bit about that song.
Well, that's absolutely true. This song is true to life. I had been through a marriage that I had been in for a while. It did not end well. I own the failure of that stuff. I'm not ashamed to say it. So the lady that I'm married to now, when we first started out, when we were hanging around each other, I wanted her to just know that, listen, there ain't no halo around my head, man. I got lots of mistakes, and I'm full of them. So if you can look through the whatever might be considered the pretty part and see the real part, then, and you're okay with that, then I'm okay with it, and I'll do everything I can to make sure everything works out, because I truly am blessed to be with this woman. But I'm not someone who wants to. I don't like to burden other people with me. I think that's a waste of energy. I think you have to, if you can take care of things in your own backyard, if you can own not only your own happiness, but if you can own your own failures, that's really important. They say that everybody should do their part. Well, that's actually what doing your part is. Doing your part isn't necessarily going out and, helping somebody mow their yard or roll hay or whatever it is that, contributing to work, that you're working with other people. Doing your part is taking care of your own things, your own emotional state, your own everything. If you'll take care of that, you'll make the world better. So I've tried to do that, and I always keep trying to do that. I never assume that I know anything about this at all. I try to make sure that my mind is open enough to where I go, okay, well, that I can look at something and go, okay, well, that was stupid. That again. So woman comes out of being that kind of person and striving to be the kind of person that wants to just basically do the right thing, and just, you know, dishonesty really takes a lot more work than being truthful, and being angry takes a lot more energy than just being calm and saying, well, okay, I'll deal with it. But that's probably not in the song, but all of that kind of stuff comes out of that kind of, you know, trying to be that type of a person. So that's what Woman, Woman really does. It's just me saying, look, darling, this is who I am. If you can live with this, I certainly would just be more than happy to be, you know, the other half of this equation.
Woman, woman, why you wanna marry me? Woman, woman, what do you think I am? Are you certain this is what you really need? Woman, woman, help me to understand. Did you know I'm just a dreamer, a drifter all alone, a natural born to lose at anything I've ever done, with a gift for letting people down just when I'm needed most? Are you sure you've made your mind up, woman, woman? I've got to know. Tell me, woman, does all of this discourage you? Being honest, you could do better than me. Hey, think it over. Tell me what you've got to lose. Woman, woman, how can I make you see? Even though I get this feeling, your love could change my ways. You could turn these lonely nights of mine into my better days. You would lay down your own life and close the gates to hell. Are you taking on too much, my woman, woman? Listen to me now. Woman, woman, why you wanna marry me? Woman, woman, what do you think I am? Are you certain this is what you really need? Woman, woman, help me to understand. Woman, woman, thank you for loving me. Woman, woman, now that you really know, here we go. Woman, woman, I need you so. Woman, 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 my woman, woman.
All right, we are talking to Randy C. Moore about his brand new album Lufkin, and we are playing every single song on here for you tonight. And man, I'll tell you some great stuff so far. And the next song, it's a fun song, and I always gravitate towards that really good shuffle, honky tonk style. And I sold a lot of beer is right in the pocket there, Randy.
Yeah, that's a fun song. It's kind of like that old song that I put out a few years ago, Highway 59 Revisited. It's all true. it's another reflection of moving to Nashville, high hopes, aspirations, taking the rose-colored glasses off and saying, well, maybe this ain't all it's cracked up to be for me, but let me see if I can just have some fun and do some damage here. And then all of a sudden, boom, look at here, I got a whole new life here. And moving to Texas, I had to put that in there because it's I sold a lot of beer in Nashville and never saved a dime. That's fairly true. I'll sell a lot of beer in Texas, and I'll have a better time. That's definitely true. I've been doing that as we speak. so I'm living that song. In fact, I would probably say of all these songs, that's one of those that I'm really living a lot. You can almost say on that song, I'm pretty much punching the clock there. I sold a lot of beer.
It hasn't been a joyride, but then again, it ain't been bad at all. My dream of superstardom got to midair and then went into a stall. Rubbing elbows with the famous never quite rubbed off on me. I got a lot of mileage from the things I got to see. No, not much of a joyride, but that's alright by me. Now the rhinestones and the record deals that led me here have faded all away. It took a while to realize that nothing here can never stay the same. All those legends driving Cadillacs from down on Music Row are now sleeping out in Woodlawn or the Mother Maybelle home. Makes me wonder why it took so long to finally let it go. I sold a lot of beer in Nashville and never saved a dime. I'll sell a lot of beer in Texas and I'll have a better time. If the foolish and the fortunate can be the best of friends, I'll be drinking with my buddies in the end. Well, I met her down on Lower Broad, and pretty soon she was my only girl. I convinced her in 2 minutes she was living in a wonderful world. Showed her the finest garages and parking lots in town. It's a miracle of sympathy that kept her hanging round. So I married her on Wednesday in my tiny Texas town. I sold a lot of beer in Nashville and never saved a dime. I'll sell a lot of beer in Texas and I'll have a better time. If the foolish and the fortunate can be the best of friends, I'll be drinking with my buddies in the end. I did all I could do there, so I won't be looking back when I am gone. All those wasted days and Broadway nights are just the inspiration for this song. I sold a lot of beer in Nashville and never saved a dime. I'll sell a lot of beer in Texas and I'll have a better time. If the foolish and the fortunate can be the best of friends, I'll be laughing till I'm crying, shooting pool and cheating cards, singing songs until the rednecks are all passed out on the bar. It'll be just as it was when I started way back then, drinking with my buddies in the end.
All right, that's a great song. I sold a lot of beer from Randy Seymour. That's his brand new album, Lufkin, available at randyseymour.com. That information is on our Facebook page, folks. And we're talking to Randy about every single song on here tonight. The song Back in the Day, Randy, it's, again, kind of taking things back into a different time, and about innocence and ignorance and blindness, and it's a very interesting song. You're trying to kind of make sense of all of it. Tell me about this one.
Well, this is another song that is about 25 years old. I wrote this in Nashville with a country artist who I'd been friends with for years before he was able to really do something significant in the music business. His name is Jesse Hunter. And Jesse's a great guy, and he and I, we see things a lot alike in some ways. And so we came up with this song, and all the entire content of the song is all the same from what we did 25 years ago, but the title just didn't ring with me. I was still looking at the title going, this is a little twisted and a little strange. And I kept hearing people say, and it just kept coming at me from different people saying, well, back in the day. And I kept going, back in the day. And then I plugged it into this idea for this song, and it just flowed. And I went, and it was one morning I was just sitting. A lot of times when I'm crafting songs or when I'm sort of, as I say, massaging them, I'm by myself. It's very early. There's no noise outside, inside. I mean, there's not even very much light in the sky yet. And it's with just me and my guitar, and I'm really listening to my insides, and my insides just kind of gravitated towards that, and so that's where it went. Now the subject matter of the song itself has a lot to do with things that I was used to when I was a kid, or things that I felt like were the things that made sense. The things that have happened recently and the contemporary things that I've seen, and take into mind, this was written 25 years ago, so none of these ideas that were written really have changed in my mind, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I sort of kicked it up a little bit, and I said, let me paint a picture here for folks, and I'm not trying to change anybody's mind or anybody's opinion or really anybody's belief on this. I'm just painting a picture of how it looks to me, and if it looks different to them, then that should make sense to them. They shouldn't go, well, this just doesn't make any sense at all. This is the way I think things should be. Well, if there are things that you truly believe in, and you believe them to be true, and they've sort of been, I would say maybe scientifically proven to you personally, stick with them. Things will work out, and things will eventually come to where they're supposed to come. We can't, as a society or as a world or as a nation or as a people, we can't force things to become what they are never going to be, and we can't go back to the way things were, because the ultimate survival of any species, as someone would say, is being able to change, being able to adapt. So this song isn't telling people, well, we just need to just forget about this and go back to the way things were. This song is really saying, listen, this is the way things were when I was a kid. It all made sense. It's all so different now. Let's see if we can come to something that can make it simple again. Yeah. We don't necessarily have to do that, but let's make what we got now. Let's turn it into something good and simple. Let's quit being angry at each other and quit blaming each other for stuff. And like I said before, when we were talking about woman, let's learn to own our own failures as much as we own our own happiness, and it'll make a difference. It will. So, and the two lines on the taglines on the chorus, one is, the last one that I say is, there was a time before we learned to hate, which I do believe. That's kind of like from the Tom T. Hall song, God Bless Little Children, while they're still too young to hate. I love that line. Yep. But then the other one is, try to learn from some mistakes that we made. Sure, yeah, we made mistakes. We can learn from them, and we can move on. We don't have to take yesterday and throw it in our path. We can move on by using yesterday as experience, that's not the tread on the tire. That's that's in the rearview mirror. So let's quit looking back so much. Let's look forward, and let's look at ourselves now. Back in the day, maybe that says it. To tell you the truth, I don't know. It just the message felt right. But like I said, when I reapproached the song itself, it didn't make a lot of sense with all the other things that the song was holding content-wise and all the messages it was. It was almost like the title that I had for the song was taking away from all that, and it was almost confusing. So once again, it was another one that was hanging around my consciousness, just waiting for that moment. So back in the day, and it's really one of my favorite sounding songs that I've ever produced. So
I like it, and that I wanted to talk about the production. It is absolutely stellar, and you've got some great musicians. Tell me a little bit about the back side of this, and who's playing on this, and where you recorded it, and all that stuff.
Well, I enlisted Greg Morrow, who's a Nashville session drummer, and has played on hundreds of great records over the past 20 years. He was originally from Memphis. If you ever heard the ZZ Top records, Eliminator and all those records, he's playing on those.
Nice.
That's him playing drums. But he's played on, just a lot of. He tours with Bob Seger, so he's serious. But when he plays drums on something, and I hear what he plays, the first thing that comes to my mind is, if I could play drums, that's exactly what I would play. So that's why I love using him. There's nothing that he doesn't do that if I had the technique and the know-how, I would be the one doing it myself. So Greg Morrow's he's the main drummer on this. Norbert Putnam, my buddy, who is like I said, he's a renowned producer, but he was also and still is a bass player. Played on a lot of Elvis records in Nashville. He played on Honey for Bobby Goldsboro. He's played on a lot of big classic records. He's playing bass on a few of these tracks. I'm putting the bass guitar on a few. My buddy Troy Klontz, who is from Oklahoma, who used to actually tour with Roy Clark for years, he's playing the pedal steel guitar. And then I'm handling some of the guitars and some piano work on this. But my favorite thing that's going on with this is I'm getting to do all my own string arrangements. I'm using a session file from Los Angeles string players. They're actual string players, and it's a great little program because they're actually recorded in Hollywood in a studio, and I actually get to use these to do my string arrangements with. So it makes the records, gives them a little more feel, a little more lushness, a little more feeling, and ultimately, with everything that I'm doing, as my friend Norbert would say, we don't really sell music, we sell emotion. So I try to convey emotion with whatever touches that I'm using on the piano or whatever touches I'm using with the string section, and I'll let Greg handle the drums.
There you go. That's great. Well, folks, the album is called Lufkin, and it's randycmoore.com. And we're going to play Back in the Day for you. We got a few more songs to talk about, including one of my favorites on this project when we come back here on My Kind of Country. Stay with us.
We pledge allegiance to the flag, believe in the republic that it stands for. Standing by our desk in school while the teacher wrote the golden rule on the blackboard. Now prayer in schools against the law, trouble in those simple hallowed homes. And the writing on the walls, or saying things we never thought at all. Back in the day, before the world got out of hand, back when we cared for our neighbor and our kin, back when all God's children thanked the Lord up above, before we lost our faith and forgot just how to love. Maybe I'm a fool, but I still believe we can work it out and all live hand in hand and learn from the mistakes that we once made back in the day. Black and white can't get along. Everyone's right and no one's wrong. It's crazy. And justice that was once for all has all but turned its back and gotten lazy. And the brave who died to free this land would find it hard to try and understand how we the people forgot the plan written for every child, woman and man. Back in the day, before the world got out of hand, back when we cared for our neighbor and our kin, back when all God's children thanked the Lord up above, before we lost our faith and forgot just how to love. Maybe I'm a fool, but I still believe we can work it out and all live hand in hand. Try to learn from those mistakes that we all made back in the day. Maybe I'm a fool, but I still believe we can work it out and all live hand in hand. There was a time before we learned to hate back in the day.
That's brand new music from Randy C. Moore. His album Lufkin is available now at randycmoore.com. Randy, I am a huge animal lover. I rescued a dog, been about 3 years ago now, who's just my best companion in the world, and she's right by my side even as we're doing this interview. And so the song "The Old Gray Dog" just really hit home for me, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are really going to dig this one.
Yeah, this is a song that's been hanging around in my consciousness for quite a long time. Of course, it's straight out of being a person who's had dogs all your life, and then seeing how they get older, and then, as my dad would say, they walk into your life, they steal your heart, and then they break it. And it's certainly true about every dog I've ever had. Starting from being a little kid all the way to now. It just never changes. I do know that there are a couple of things about dogs that always gives me food for thought. People always ask me, they say, well, why can't dogs live as long as people? My idea on that is, well, dogs don't have to take all the time trying to learn how to unconditionally love like people sometimes do. They really have it down from the get-go, so they don't have to spend so much time being truly one of God's creatures. The other one is, somebody told me when I said, yeah, after I'd had to let go of one of my dogs years ago as well, I said, but it's okay. I'm gonna see that dog again. I'll be with that dog on the other side of the gate. And they said, well, the Bible doesn't say anything about dogs going to heaven. And my response was, well, why would the Bible talk about dogs? The dog can't read.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
So it's kind of a tribute to all my old dogs.
Well, I sleep a lot more than I used to these days, and dream of the lakeside where we used to play. But the summertime's gone and drifted away. Look at me, I'm your old gray dog, and I don't wander far from the back of the house. I don't ever bark unless it really counts, and the steps hurt to walk up, but I'm there when you call. Through it all, I'm your old gray dog, and I really don't wonder why I am like I am. 'Cause true love and devotion are all my old heart understands. And my love is as strong as the day we first met. You're the voice of the master I'll never forget, and I long for the rub of your hand on my head. You can bet I'm your old gray dog. Some say it's a wonder, but really it's not all that odd. When you turn my name around, you get the name of God. So I'll lay by the back door till I'm gone from this place, and wait for you in heaven by the old garden gate. And I'll run to your arms and lay a lick on your face. You know the place. I'm your old gray dog. Remember me, I'm your old gray dog.
Tell me about Day After Day.
Well, this song fell out real quickly one day after me and my wife had watched a movie that's been out for a few years now. It's called Yesterday. I don't know if you've ever seen this film or not. It's really interesting. If you watch it, though, I'm going to tell people up front, if you watch it, make sure that you include the closed caption, because the characters in this movie have such a heavy English accent, you won't know what's going on until the last fourth of the movie, because it's so hard to understand them because their accents are so heavy, English accents. But the movie's called Yesterday. The movie's the premise of the movie is a guy who's a musician, and he's trying to do his thing, write his songs. He's a singer-songwriter, and he's not getting anywhere. And he's a fan of the Beatles, but everybody is in this the way that people are a fan of the Beatles. Well, he gets hit by a bus after the entire world has a blackout for like a minute. He's hit by this bus. He ends up in a hospital, and when he wakes up, he gets himself feeling better, and his girlfriend/manager buys him a new guitar, and he's just thrilled. And he says, "This guitar is just," he says, "this is just amazing." He said, "You know, this guitar really deserves, for me to play this, it really deserves a great song." So he plays Yesterday by the Beatles, and these two or three girls and his friends are all sitting around the table, and they just fall apart. They go, "Where did you hear that?" And he goes, "From the Beatles." And they go, "Who are the Beatles?" so he realizes that when he wakes up, after he'd woken up, nobody had ever heard of the Beatles. The Beatles never made it. So he knows all the Beatles songs. So he starts turning his career into a successful career by recording all the things he knows that he's learned from Beatle records. It's an interesting story. It's a fun story, and the characters in it just kind of gave me the ideas for Day After Day, and then just a lot of things that have been swirling around me just got plugged into that song. It's really kind of a stream of consciousness, for lack of a better term. I can't really tell you exactly what the song's about, but I can tell you the song is about something. But it may be one of those that's it's down to the listener. So I'll just leave it open there. I'll say, listen to it. I'm going to leave it open. It's there. It fell out. I don't know why. Don't ask me. And it'll probably be less confusing if somebody tries to find out what I think of it.
Day after day, through loss and gain, prejudice and pride start to feel one and the same. Looking for yourself in someone else's eyes, then by the time you find it's not there, you realize you can't go back. So why would you want to? Did you forget about the pain? Forget about the sorrow? Forget about all that you thought about was getting to tomorrow? Day after day, day after day, day after day, there's so much despair. You're always in a rush, never giving back, so unaware. Believing success is a golden dream beyond you, blinded to the truth, all that you seek is standing beside you. And if you had a choice to do it all again, with everything you know, would you be a better friend, be a better partner, be a better kind of human being? Day after day, day after day, day after day, day after day, day after day.
All right, we're talking to Randy C. Moore. This is his brand new album, Lufkin, and we just heard Day After Day. And the last song I want to talk about, Randy, this is you're talking about, people having different interpretations of songs and different interpretations of stories. This is one of those. It's very interesting. But I got to tell you, I love the feel of this, and I do want to say thank you to Ginny Foley for getting us set up for the interview today. And the other day when we were setting up this interview, we were chatting, and we were going back and forth on the messenger thing, and she said, "I'm listening to the song Devil for Hire," and I kid you not, as she said it, I was playing it on my end, and I'm like, that's really spooky. It's one that I really gravitate toward, and I think I love the feel of it. I love the story of it, and I'm anxious to hear what you have to say about Devil for Hire.
There's always a lot of talk and things about, like I mentioned before, about the Bible and things like that, and what's in the Bible and what isn't in the Bible. The story of Lucifer being cast out as an angel and being thrown in and ruling purgatory and so forth and such. That's really taken from a very, very long poem called Paradise Lost from Milton. So a lot of what we think of, or what the imagery of the devil is, really comes from that. And I will say, Christianity in particular is one of the few, I don't know about all the others, but I know most of them don't really have a devil. I know they have something that is something where you're atoning for things that aren't necessarily very good or evil. They do have that, but it has nothing to do with going to a purgatory with a lake of fire and all that. So my idea was, okay, well, let me just take a look at this. Let's take a look at God and his army of angels. And Lucifer he was an angel at the time. He wasn't the evil guy. He apparently, to me at least, it appears that he was the one that's been hanging around the longest, and that's probably why he figured, well, I know as much about this stuff as anybody. So in my interpretation, or in my song Devil for Hire, God is just laying out the plan to the angels. He's saying, look, I just invented man, and he's gonna be a real problem. He's going to make some really bad decisions. He's going to do very, very bad things, and I have to have something that's going to scare him and try to prevent him from doing all these terrible things. So I'm going to come up. I've got this concept for hell. We're going to do this lake of fire and all these different things, and just terrible things that he will have to, a person will have to endure if they choose a life that isn't in line with being good and righteous and helping others and the golden rule and all that kind of stuff. So Lucifer, he stands up after they go through all this, and he says, well, look, if you're looking for somebody to run this place, I'll do it. Heck, I'll take the job. So that's really it's to me. I didn't look at it so much as, well, he was just like, God couldn't stand him, so he just threw him out. I kind of looked at it more like, he just came to an agreement. He said, look, I'll do this, okay? I'll do it. I'll do. In fact, my first idea for the song was "Take One for the Team," because God was looking at all his angels and he says, "Look, somebody's gonna have to take one for the team here." This is just that's the only way that this is going to work out. So that's where "Devil for Hire" comes from. It comes from a guy named Lucifer, who happened to be the God, the Creator's oldest friend and oldest angel, and he said, look, I'll help you out here. What have I got to lose? And of course, at the end of the song, he says, look, at least I got my own place. So it's kind of humorous, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. So that's Devil for Hire, man.
Well, Randy, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I want to thank you for giving me all this time and letting me be able to get all these songs out to our listeners tonight. And I really always enjoy talking with you and look forward to it.
Well, I hope I didn't chew up so much time that I'm boring people to death with this stuff, but it's fun to talk about this stuff. Even if I got you listening, it's really fun. It makes me feel good that somebody wants to talk about it and hear about them and see where they came from, because when I hear songs or something like that, I'm one of those folks who I want to find out how did that come about? What was behind that idea? And it's really great for me to be able to do that with my own songs. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this, Scott. And I really appreciate you and wish you the best of luck. And I know that you are one of our stalwarts when it comes to keeping the music going and keeping the good music right where it needs to be in front of people. So thank you for all that.
Well, it's my honor. And folks, again, please go to randyseymour.com and get the album Lufkin. You can get the CD there, and of course you can download it at Amazon, iTunes, Spotify, all those usual suspects where we get music these days. But one of the things I think you were talking earlier about bringing some things forward from the past, I think we still need to be buying physical albums and having them in our hands, because there's that whole connection there. I like the cover that you have, and I just like to be able to hold it in my hand and listen to it. And then after hearing all these inside stories today, it just makes me bond with it a little bit more. So thank you for that.
Cool. Right on.
All right. We're going to play Devil for Hire for you from the album Lufkin with Randy Seymour. And Randy, thank you again for being on My Kind of Country.
Thank you, Scott.
It was 40,000 years or so, just past the beginning of all time. God was 15 minutes late for his board meeting, looking beat when he arrived. He said, "Angels, I apologize. Shouldn't make y'all sit around and wait. When you're trying to build a universe, there's a whole lot on your plate. You recall just last Friday, I invented this creation I call man. Well, I've looked into his future and I see his troubles getting out of hand. There'll be no end to his wickedness and evil deeds as far as I can tell. So as much as it pains me, boys, we're gonna have to give him hell. We'll need a lake, a burning fire, where giant fish with jagged teeth swallow all the fishing boats, and a barroom made of brimstone, where whiskey tastes like gasoline burning in your throat, and the endless sound of banjos playing out of tune and out of time. And I'll need someone to run the place, have wanted one devil for hire. Well, the angels all look puzzled, just scratching at their halos with their wings. When the eldest one among them stood and said, "Hey Lord, you know I feel your pain. You and I have been the best of friends since this whole thing began. And if it's that important to you, Lord, well, I guess I'll be your man. We'll have a lake, a burning fire, where giant fish with jagged teeth swallow all the fishing boats, like gasoline burning in your throat, and the endless sound of banjos playing out of tune, out of time. You don't need to go looking round, I'll be your devil for hire. I'll be here for eternity, working